Hello everyone, uh, this is Mary. Let's discuss the important points related to Chomsky language development theory. Chomsky language development theory is also known as government beneating theory or nativistic approach theory. So, Chomsky's language development theory is also known as government beneating theory or nativistic approach theory. Noam Chomsky, it's a full name. So he is the father of modern linguistics. So he believes that children are born with an inherited ability to learn any human language. That means they have the ability with while when they are born. So they have inherited ability. That means the ability will be inside the child, so that he or she can learn any human language. He claims that certain linguistic structures which children use so accurately must be already imprinted on the child's mind. That means what they are observing already, some of the information will be present in the child's mind. So Chomsky believes that every child has a language acquisition device or LAD. LAD is also known as language acquisition device. That means every children is having language acquisition device which encodes the major principles of a language and its grammatical structures into child's brain. So this language acquisition device helps the children to encode the principles of language and its grammar into child's brain. Children have then only to learn new vocabulary and apply the syntax, that means the formula structures for the language acquisition device to form sentences. That means if some structures we have brain, that means if something is present in our brain, then only we can calculate what the next word to be uh, pronounced. So like this language acquisition device helps the students, help the children to learn new vocabulary and apply for that generative structures from that language acquisition device. Chomsky points out that a child could not possibly learn a language through imitation alone because the language spoken around them is highly irregular. That means the children will not learn easily just by observing or just by imitating. The child cannot learn a language. The child cannot acquire language knowledge just by observing. That means because language spoken around them is highly irregular. That means the father speaks in some other language, mother speaks in some other language, and the persons around them speak different types of language. So the language spoken will be irregular language, so that just by imitating the children will not be able to acquire knowledge skills. So adult speech is often broken up and even sometimes ungrammatical. Why the child is not able to understand means the adult speech is often broken up. That means in a short sentences, just by telling incomplete sentences, and even sometimes ungrammatical. That means grammar will not be present, different words, or in a shortcut method the people will be pronouncing and the children will be uh, in a confused. That means they are not able to acquire knowledge through imitation. Okay, so generative linguist is nothing but generative grammar. So Chomsky theories applies to all languages as they all contains nouns, verbs, consonants and vowels, and children appear to be hardwired to acquire the grammar. That means all the languages are difficult for the child, so that they are hardwired. That means whatever the language may be, that will be difficult for the children, so that the language contains nouns, verbs, consonants and vowels, and the children will think that that language will be very hard to learn. Every language is extremely complex, often with subtle distinctions which even native speakers are unaware of. That means in a language some different words are also present, so that even the native speakers are also not aware of it. That means they not listen to the words However, all children, regardless of their intellectual ability, become fluent in their native language within 5 or 6 years. That means within 5 or 6 years, the child will be able to acquire all the knowledge and intellectual ability. That means the child can easily understand and the child can easily learn the language within 5 or 6 years. Evidence to support Chomsky's theory. That means what are the evidences? Children learning to speak never make grammatical errors such as getting their subjects, verbs and objects in the wrong order. That means while children are learning to speak, they will not make grammar mistakes related to subjects or verbs or anything or objects. So they'll be perfect in grammar. If an adult deliberately said a grammatical incorrect sentence, the child would notice. That means if the people around, if the adult is saying that if the adult is pronouncing and something different, that means incorrect. If adult is saying some incorrect sentence, then the child will easily notice the mistake. Children often say things that are ungrammatical, such as mama, ball, which they cannot have learned passively. So these are not present in grammar, but children will say that. Mistakes such as I draw instead of I drew show they are not learning through imitation alone. That means if adult is making mistakes also, the children will try to learn perfectly. That means instead of I draw, so I drew. Uh, so I drawed is mistake and I drew is the correct word. So they try to imitate. The imitation will be done alone. That means they learn the grammar by their own. And Chomsky used the sentence colorless green ideas sleep furiously, which is grammatical although it does not make sense, to prove his theory. He said it shows that sentences can be grammatical without having any meaning. So sentences may be grammatical if meaning is not there also. Sentences are in an order, they are present with an order. Okay, that we can tell the difference between a grammatical and an ungrammatical sentence without ever having heard the sentence before, and that we can produce and understand brand new sentences that no one has ever said. That means even if a sentence is ungrammatical also, but still if the words are arranged in a manner so that we are saying it as, that means it has meaning but not grammatical meaning. So in this way the child also tries to build new words, try to give new sentences to develop his knowledge. And the books written by Noam Chomsky are Aspects of Theory of Syntax, Language and Thought, Logical Structure of Linguistic Theory and Syntactic Structures. These are the books written by Noam Chomsky. He is the father of modern linguistics. So if you have any doubts regarding this topic, you can just ask me. If you like this, please like, share and subscribe.